welcome to another video of me reading Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And in this video I'm gonna be reading chapter 4 part 2, and this actually belongs to the book. I just always take it off, but just so you know, this is the version I have. It's a very beautiful Harry Potter adult version. So I just go on reading where we left off. I never expected this, he said in a low, worried voice. I had no idea when Dumbledore told me there might be trouble getting hold of you, how much you didn't know. Oh, Harry, I don't know if I'm the right person to tell you, but someone's gotta. You can't get off talk what's not knowing. He threw a dirty look at the Dursleys. Well, it's best you know as much as I can tell you, mind. I can't tell you everything. It's a great mystery, parts of it. He sat down and stared into the fire for a few seconds and then said, It begins, I suppose, with a person called, but it's incredible you don't know his name. Everyone in our world knows. Who? Well, I don't like saying the name if I can help it. No one does. Why not? Gulping gargoyles, Harry. People are still scared. Believe me, it's difficult. See, there was this wizard who went bad, as bad as you could go. Worse than worse. His name was... Hagrid gulped, but no words came out. Could you write it down? Hagrid suggested. No, I can spell it. Alright, Voldemort. Hagrid shuddered. Don't make me say it again. I wonder, like, if no one says Voldemort and everyone's saying, you know who, how do people actually know his name? I mean, obviously a few people are gonna know because they knew him when they were like younger, like when Voldemort started out. Or because they know Dumbledore and he says his name. But otherwise they always say, you know who, even in the newspaper and the Daily Prophet, they say, you know who. So it's funny that still everyone knows Voldemort's name when no one's actually saying Voldemort's name. Anyways, this wizard about 20 years ago now started looking for followers. Got him to somewhere afraid some just wanted a bit of his power, cause he was getting himself power alright. Dark days, Harry didn't know who to trust, didn't dare get friendly with strange wizards or witches. Terrible things happened, and was taken over. Some stood up to him and he killed them horribly. One of the only safe places left was Hogwarts. Reckon Dumbledore is the only one you know who was afraid of. Didn't dare try taking the school, not just then anyway. Now your mom and dad were as good a witch and wizard as I ever knew. Head boy and girl at Hogwarts in their day. Suppose the mystery is why you know who never tried to get him on his side before. Probably knew they were too close to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought he could persuade him. Maybe he just wanted him out of the way. All anyone knows is he turned up in the village where you was all living on Halloween 10 years ago. You was just a year old. He came to your house and Hagrid suddenly pulled out a very dirty, spotted handkerchief and blew his nose with his sound like a foghorn. Sorry, he said, but it's sad. Knew your mom and dad and nicer people you couldn't find anyway. You know who killed them. And this is the real mystery of the thing. He tried to kill you too. Wanted to make a clean job of it, I suppose. Or maybe just like killing by then. But he couldn't do it. Never wondered how you got that mark on your forehead. There was no ordinary cut. That's what you get when a powerful evil curse touches you. Took care of your mom and dad and your house, even. But it didn't work on you, and that's why you're famous, Harry. No one ever left after he decided to kill him. No one except you, and he'd killed some of the best witches and wizards of the age. The McKinnons, the Bones, the Privets, and you was only a baby and you lived. Something very painful was going on in Harry's mind. As Hagrid's story came to a close, he saw again the blinding flash of green light, more clearly than he had ever remembered it before, and he remembered something else for the first time in his life. A high and cruel, high cold cruel love. Hagrid was watching him sadly. Took you from the ruined house myself. On Dumbledore's orders brought you to this lot. Lot of old tough, said Uncle Vernon. Harry jumped. He had almost forgotten that the Dursleys were there. Uncle Vernon suddenly seemed to have got back his courage. He was glaring at Hagrid and his fists were clenching. Now you listen here, boy, he snarled. I accept there's something strange about you, probably nothing a good beating wouldn't have cured. And as for all this about your parents, well, they were weirdos, no denying it, and the world's better off without them, in my opinion. As for all they getting mixed up with these wizarding types, just what I expected, always knew they'd come to a sticky end. But at that moment, Hagrid leapt from the sofa and drew a battered pink umbrella from the inside of his coat. Pointing this at Uncle Vernon like a sword, he said, I'm warning you, Dursley. I'm warning you. One more word. In danger of being speared on the end of an umbrella by a bearded giant, Uncle Vernon's courage failed again. He flattened himself against the wall and fell silent. That's better, said Hagrid, breathing heavily and sitting back down on the sofa, which this time sagged right down to the floor. Harry, meanwhile, still had questions to ask, hundreds of them. But what happened to Volsor? You know who? Good question, Harry. Disappeared, vanished, some night. Same night he tried to kill you. Makes it even more famous. That's the biggest mystery, see? He was getting more and more powerful. Why'd he go? Some say he died. God's well up, in my opinion. Don't know if he had enough human left in him to die. Some say he's still out there bidding his time. But I don't believe it. People who was on its side came back 2 hours. Some of them came out of kind of trances. Don't reckon they could have done if he was coming back. It's strange. Actually, Dad, he said they came out of trances. I don't know how to pronounce that. Because we actually know that it was probably the Imperious Curse, what he's talking about. But I guess then also that would have been way too much to explain to Harry, like what the Imperious Curse is. Most of us reckon he's still out there somewhere but lost his powers, too weak to carry on, 'cause something about you finished him, Harry. There was something going on that night he hadn't counted on. I don't know what it was, no one does, but something about you stumped him all right. Just another thing I want to mention. I wonder if at that point Dumbledore already knew about Horcruxes and if he actually said that Voldemort is not dead, because otherwise, why would Hagrid think that he's still somewhere out there? Doesn't really make sense. And actually, it's never mentioned if there was Voldemort's body, because I mean, like, he left his body, so I guess the body must have been there. I also did some research on that, but the answers weren't really clear. So yeah, I don't know. I just personally think that Dumbledore maybe talked to like his closest people and told them, you know what, I don't think Voldemort is dead. I think he's still out there, and as Hagrid trusts Dumbledore so much, I guess he just takes this for the truth. Where was I? Hagrid looked at Harry with warmth and respect blazing in his eyes, but Harry, instead of feeling pleased and proud, felt quite sure that had been a horrible mistake. A wizard, him? How could he possibly be? He'd spent his life being clouted by Dudley and bullied by Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon. If he was really a wizard, why hadn't they been turned into warty toads every time they tried to lock him in his cupboard? If he'd once defeated the greatest sorcerer in the world, how come Dudley had always been able to kick him around like football? Hagrid, he said quietly, I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think I can be a wizard. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. Not a wizard, eh? Never made things happen when you were scared or angry. Harry looked into the fire, and now he came to think about it. Every odd thing that had ever made his aunt and uncle furious with him had happened when he, Harry, had been upset or angry. Chased by Dudley's gang, he had somehow found himself out of their reach, dreading going to school with that ridiculous haircut he'd managed to make it grow back. And the very last time Dudley had hit him, hadn't he got his revenge without even realizing he was doing it? Hadn't he set a boa constrictor on him? Harry looked back at Hagrid smiling and saw that Hagrid was positively beaming at him. See, said Hagrid, Harry Potter not a wizard. You wait, you'll be right famous at Hogwarts. But Uncle Vernon wasn't going to give in without a fight. Haven't I told you he's not going, he's hissed. He's going to Stonewall High and he'll be grateful for it. I've read those letters and he needs all sorts of rubbish, spellbooks and wands, and if he wants to go, a great muggle like you won't stop him, growled Hagrid. Stop Lily and James Potter's son going to Hogwarts. You're mad. His name's been down ever since he was born. He's off to the finest school of witchcraft and wizardry in the world. 7 years there and he won all himself. He'll be with youngsters of his own sort for a change, and he'll be under the greatest headmaster Hogwarts has ever had, Albus Dumbledore. I am not paying for some crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks, yelled Uncle Vernon. But he had finally gone too far. Hagrid seized his umbrella and whirled it over his head. Never, he thundered, insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me. He brought the umbrella swishing down through the air and pointed at Dudley. There was a flash of violet light, a sound like a firecracker, a sharp squeal, and next second Dudley was dancing on the spot with his hands clasped over his fat bottom, howling in pain. When he turned his back on them, Harry saw a curly pig's tail poking through a hole in his trousers. Uncle Vernon roared, pulling Aunt Petunia and Dudley into the other room. He cast one last terrified look at Hagrid and slammed the door behind them. Hagrid looked down at his umbrella and stroked his beard. Shouldn't have lost my temper, he said ruefully. But it didn't work anyway. Meant to turn him into a pig, but I suppose he was much like pig anyway. There was much left to do. He cast a sideways look at Harry under his bushy eyebrows. Be grateful if you didn't mention that to anyone at Hogwarts, he said. I'm not supposed to do magic, strictly speaking. I was allowed to do a bit, to follow you and get your letters to you and stuff. One of the reasons I was so keen to take on the job. Why aren't you supposed to do magic? Asked Harry. Oh, well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but I got expelled, to tell you the truth. In my third year, they stepped me 1.5 and everything, but Dumbledore let me stay on as gamekeeper. Great man, Dumbledore. Why were you expelled? It's getting late and we've got lots to do tomorrow, said Hagrid loudly. Gotta get up to town, get all your books and that. He took off his thick black coat and threw it to Harry. You can keep under that, he said. Don't mind if it wriggles a bit. I think I still got a couple of dormies in one of the pockets. That's it for chapter 4 of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos and don't miss them, then please subscribe to my channel. And I'm happy to see you in my next video.